Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. So today is Hasbook review video day. So after that horrendous eBay video on Monday, I was so fed up with the absolute despicableness of the audio quality of that darn laptop computer that I was using. I'm like, you know what? No more of that. I was so ashamed. Like, literally, I was ashamed of actually posting that video, but I didn't want to lose, the content that I had actually created from that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave it up. But after that, I went out and I got myself a high definition 4K, or no, actually, no, it was like a 5K camera. So from this point forward, I am actually going to have actual high definition videos moving forward. I actually got to get an actual what is it called, SD card or something for the camera. So I'm still using my cell phone to film a few videos, but next week when I start filming my next set of videos, the video quality is actually going to be really superb. So probably not the next Tuesday video because that one's already been filmed and pre-scheduled. But probably late next week when I start posting regular other videos, the content is actually going to be a lot better. And hopefully that's going to even improve the audio quality as well. So no more grainy videos. Audio quality should be, should have a uptick in quality as well. Last couple weeks with the Hasbook, we've been looking at, obviously, we've been looking at the card backs, we've been looking at languages, we've been looking at the first and second series of the Hasbro figures. The second week, we were looking at series 3 and 4. Today, we're going to take a look at series 5 and 6. Now, series 5 was the last, really mega release of Hasbro figures, up until about Series 10. Series 5, we got 10 figures released. Series 6 through 9, you got about 6 figures released. So, and then in Series 10, you got about another 10 figures released. If you count the re-releases of, Black Vest Razor, White Pants Sean, that would give you 10 figures. If you don't count those two, 8 figures, but I count them, so we could count them as 10 figures, right? So, but Series 5, 10 figures. These are your black and white releases of series. Why does Virgil kind of look like George Steele right here? He does, man. He kind of looks like George. And even Warlord, he looks like Bane. If you look at the 2008 Batman movie, Warlord looks like freaking Bane right here. That is crazy. So recently on auction, I did pick up a couple of new figures, namely the Series 5 Hogan and the Series 9 $1 Million Man. Well, why are those two figures important? Well, those two figures do complete the arm punching motion figures, because like I've been talking about pretty much in all of these type of videos, I am creating different auctions with different bundles, and all of these bundles that have figures with this type of pose, right? Series 2 $1 Million Man, or Series 2 Butch, Series 10 Luke, Series 5 IRS, that's going to go in one bundle. Or, Series 1 Macho Man, Series 5 Rick Martel, Series 7 and Series 10 Shawn Michaels, Series 10 Marty Jannetty is in one bundle. All of the figures that come with arm punching motions, all in one bundle, etc. So, those different bundles that I'm creating these bundles for particular purposes, because I want to kind of create something special for interested buyers, interested collectors, kind of help them out for their personal collections. as opposed to kind of creating, and I'm also creating bundles like all Series 5 together, so buyers have their option of which bundle they want to pick up. Series 5 Hogan. It's probably like my second favorite Hulk Hogan figure. I mean, obviously I prefer the Hogan with the shirts because it gives you more graphical detail, but a lot of people like this one better because with the no shirt Hogan, it's more of a in-ring, ready, fightable Hogan, but I like the Series 3 the best myself. I mean, this is about a $40 figure generally, but based on condition, like if his arms are weak or something, he hovers around a $20 piece. The 93 Hasbro toy catalog Hogan prototype showed the figure having a more tan skin tone when compared to the retail figure. Known for holding the WWF title more times than any other wrestler. I don't know. Did someone like John Cena or something like that, or maybe Roman Reigns, did someone like that recently break that title or break that record? And I don't know when this magazine was released or when, but I'm thinking maybe someone like that may have actually broken that record. Possibly. I mean, that would be my guess, right? Holding the WWF title more than any other wrestler. Yeah, I think John Cena or someone like that would have broken that record by now. And then Erwin R. Shyster. Now, as a kid, I always thought that IRS, and I just thought that, they were going off his actual name. Mike Rotunda, I didn't actually learn that that was his real life name until like adulthood. And when all of this collection actually started. Of course, I didn't know him in the 80s, obviously. At a time when I wasn't even born yet, or by the time I was born, when I was a baby, right? I wasn't following him. When I became familiar with Mike Rotunda is during the era of IRS. So when you learn of Erwin R. Shyster, that's exactly what I thought. I thought that was his real life name. And over the years, I didn't really go back and, research him or anything like that. I didn't think about it. But as I got into collecting and obviously learning more and more about, these guys I watched growing up, you learn about people and, their backstories and whatnot. IRS, in general, his figure, he has a very enjoyable figure. I don't have any issues with this piece, but I think Series 5, I've always said that I think Series 5 is probably the most cartoony release of Hasbro. And I think when people think about Hasbro, they like, what, it's a very cartoonish set of figures. But that's not necessarily true. I don't think of that way about all of the Hasbro figures. In general, I think Series 5 is probably the one series that I would argue that, yes, maybe when you look at the figures that are probably the most evident with the whole cartoon look. But IRS with the I'm going to write you off. I like that. Known for being managed by the mouth of the sun. Man, Jimmy Hart managed everybody. I feel like Jimmy Hart managed like 80% of the wrestlers in WWF. IRS uses the leg stomping mold from the Series 2 Ted DiBiase, which we already know. Like I said, IRS, Ted DiBiase Series 2, Butch from Bushwhackers in Series 2, aka Luke Bushwhackers in Series 10. All have the same mold. And Jim Neidhart. So Jim Neidhart has one of probably my top 15 least favorite Hasbros, and it's a pretty solid figure. Basically it's a really nice figure, right? Design-wise, but when you look at the feet of Jim Neidhart, he and Roddy Piper from Series 2. Now, I do list Roddy Piper from Series 2 among my top 10 least favorite Hasbros. And I don't know. I kind of got to backtrack a little bit. I've talked about Roddy Piper, and I say that Roddy Piper from Series 2 is like, aesthetically is a freaking awesome figure. All right. Among all the figures, I love name recognition. One of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Awesome look. Love the built-on kilt. Awesome play pose. Fantastic look. I mean, just everything about that figure is absolutely amazing. I would even rate him probably a 9 out of 10 figure. But how the heck do you rate a 9 out of 10 figure one of the top 10 worst Hasbros out of a line that has 94 original figures, not including mailaways? And when you think about it, it boils down to the feet. Why? Because just like Jim Neidhart, Roddy Piper has like those rocking chair feet. So when you stand him up, what's he doing? He's always tipping over, and it drives me nuts. And Jim Neidhart's no different. He's got like those sort of like curvature, rocking chair type feet, and he is so difficult to stand up on his own, and it's frustrating. But this is around the time that, the new foundation or the new Hart Foundation were tagging together. And of course, Owen got hurt, and then later on, Jim Neidhart jumped ship to WCW. So what happened when Owen Hart returned? He kind of had to find a new tag team partner, and that's where High Energy and Coco Beware kind of joined forces. But known for co-hosting WWF Wrestling Challenge. Favorite quote, ha, yeah, baby. When you actually look at his hand, I don't like that. There's just too much of a separation in his elbow. But otherwise, I mean, Jim Neidhart. In particular about this figure, Jim Neidhart, Hasbro, is also probably one of my most frustrating Hasbro figures of this entire line. In terms of purchasing and value. Whenever I talk about value of the Hasbros, this is the one figure I always talk about more than anything, because when I talk about market value, there's just no way to like always talk about how the market fluctuates. Back in 2021, early 2022, let's say 2021, around September, October, when I was always buying Hasbros, and I was always bidding on this SOB, and this guy gave me such fits. I was bidding on this guy like crazy. And I was bidding $40, $42, $45, $48. I could never win this son of a gun. He was always going up on auction, and he was selling for a high price. And I was always losing. I'm like, damn. $40+ every freaking time. So I finally win Jim Neidhart on auction for $40-something. And then what happens when you start winning, when you finally win something, either a buy it now or auction? All of a sudden, you have it, and then everything just starts rolling in like, it seems like pennies on the dollar, it feels like. So from that point forward, I feel like, okay, hey, here's this guy selling this item, buy it now, $15, or you win on auction, $15. Maybe shipping is $5, and tax, whatever. Maybe you're going all in $20. You know that, hey, you've been bidding on this thing forever for $40+. You win it for $20. Hey, you just won it for $20. I could sell this for $40, double my money. I'm ecstatic to pay $15 purchase price and resell this item. No. And so I was like buying up a ton of darn Jim Neidhart figures at one point. And no, like I was getting like $5 offers and $5 bids and stuff on. I was taking such losses. I was buying this guy for $15, $20, $25, and I was getting like $5 and $7 on auction, and I was like, son of a gun. And I just could not understand it. So that's why I say Jim Neidhart, he's like a $10 figure. I mean, if he's like super, super mint, tight arms, no paint loss, like beautiful, perfect, like so, you might luck out at $20, $25, but oh my god, that figure gave me such fits. No other Hasbro has frustrated me more than the Jim Neidhart. Let's see what they say about Jim Neidhart. A controller showed that Jim Neidhart was originally planned to be released with the Hart Foundation attire and possibly as a tag team 2-pack along with Bret Hart. I mean, that would have been really nice, I think. And then Macho Man. Let's see. I'm the champ, don't you ever forget it. We got Macho Man. And of course, Grapplers and Gimmicks. They came out with a very reminiscent variant, both black and white version as well as a gold version of this Macho Man figure. Both with jacket, another kind of variant without the jacket. But obviously the jacket is what you're looking as the comparable version because it comes with the tassels, right? So... Alright, the 93 Hasbro Toy Fair catalog prototype was shown without green stripes. What green stripes? These green stripes? Possibly. These were, I'm stuffy nose, sorry. Should have really blown my nose before I came down here. My mistake. These were added for the retail figures. The legs are a repaint of the Series 3 Coco Beware. Macho Man also wore this attire for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis Royal Rumble video games. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even pay attention to that, but you know what? Now that I look at it and they mention that, he does. That is so cool. The freaking Mountie with shock stick. My figures are always falling off the shelves and breaking, and Mountie, you can find occasionally, find a customizer who's selling a custom shock stick, but it is so difficult to find an original shock stick on eBay or Mercari or wherever. And even, custom shock sticks, people want to sell them for like $15, $20. And even original, does original shock sticks even value at $15+? I don't think so. But the Mountie, I mean, he's like one of my favorite figures in the line. Perfect looking figure, great aesthetic, great play pose. Definitely one of the top 15, top 20 best figures, I would say. Now, they don't call this a shock stick. They call this a cattle prod. And that's what I used to call the Terry Funk. Oh, what do I call the? No, I call it cattle prod sometimes with Terry Funk. Sometimes I call it a cattle prod. Sometimes I call it a what else do I call it? Branding iron. No, I call it a cattle prod, and it's called a branding iron. So, no, I don't know. I don't think it's a cattle prod. I think it's a shock stick. I think that's the official name. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Let's see. Toy Fair catalog showed the Mountie with an all-red cattle prod. This was changed to all black for the retail release. An all-red cattle prod. You know what? There we go. There is another prototype accessory now I have to get. Now it's not just, prototype figures, but friggin' prototype accessories. Now we already got to get the Brutus Beefcake shears accessory with the black shears with the silver handle, right? Now I kind of got to do the same thing with the cattle prod as well. And of course, Rick Martel. Now Rick Martel does have a couple different variations. Sometimes the pink on his trunks might be a little bit darker or brighter. So it kind of depends. I never really pay close enough attention to the coloring on his trunks and boots. But sometimes if you got a good enough eyesight to actually be able to tell a difference, you might be able to tell a difference on it. And his card, the one I have mostly, I'm going to have to switch that out at some point because the one I have, bubbles coming off and it's like really terrible. His favorite quote is, "Don't ever cross me or I'll fashion a brand new face for you." Love it. The body of Rick Martel is a repaint of the Series 1 Macho Man figure. There's a dark pink variant of Rick Martel's trunks. Yep. See, like I said, it's got a dark or brighter pink variant. I mean, I really like the Sid Justice figure. Don't get me wrong. I mean, pretty much any of these open hand, arm slamming motion figures I enjoy. But when I think Sid Vicious / Sid Justice, always getting tongue-tied. Obviously, I got to refer back to Galoob, right? My all-time favorite figure. Or what I classify as my George Washington of action figures. And so, when I think about my most played with toy as a kid, and then I kind of look at this, I'm like, not necessarily night and day, but I can't really enjoy this when I think about that Sid Vicious figure. Still enjoy this, no doubt, but if I'm sitting down having a wrestling match, am I going to go with this or am I going to go with that Sid Vicious? Come on, Sid Vicious every day, all the time. Justice is in the eye of the beholder. But still a great figure nonetheless. And the controller for Sid Justice had only the torso and head drawn. A note was added instructing the sculptors to reuse the Series 1 Hulk Hogan arms and legs. Well, of course. I mean, like I said, pretty much all of these figures with Hogan and Warrior and Sid and British Bulldog and Animal from Legion of Doom. Then you throw in Sid Justice, and you throw in, Warlord to an extent, Ludwig Borga to an extent. So, there are a ton of figures that have this type of pose. So, with the open hand arm slamming motion, Skinner, he's another type of figure that's like right up there with like the Jim Neidhart figure. And when I talk about guys that were normally selling for like the $40+ range, and when I think about here is a character or a figure that you need to stockpile on, Skinner. Stockpile Skinner because he's a $40+ So if you get one on auction, you win it for like $10, $15, great. That is money in the bank for you. But you look at what Skinner sells for nowadays. People could put Skinner on auction or put him on, like, buy it now for like $10 with like $4 shipping. And he will sit on people's pages forever because nobody wants to buy a pretty good condition Skinner for $10. They'd rather try to win him on auction for cheaper. And he is one of the most perfect figures from the entire Hasbro line. Okay, Skinner is, like I said, he is one of the best darn Hasbros. perfect look, perfect play pose, great action feature. I mean, this is a absolute flawless figure. And if you're going to pay $40 for a Hasbro, I mean, this is arguably one of those figures that I would say that I'd have no qualms about paying $40 for, because, like I said, he is a flawless figure. But now, why is it when I was buying Hasbros, this was a $40+ figure, but nowadays you can't get $10 for this guy, and I hate that. Frustrating. As a reseller, looking at it from a business perspective, it's annoying. And I think people just don't like the whole Steve Kern character himself, but I mean, like I said, but from an action figure standpoint, one of those perfect pieces. Let's see. Skinner is one of 3 figures to not have a 2-up paint master. This was due to the spring mechanism feat. A 1-up paint master was made instead. The 93 Hasbro Toy Fair catalog, Skinner prototype had a brown shirt rather than the green shirt seen on retail figures. And that's what I got to get. I got to get the brown shirt prototype for that figure. Then we've got Virgil, known for breaking away from the $1 Million Man in early 1991. His favorite quote, "If the right doesn't get you, the left will." And I want to know if he really does have multiple variants. If you guys kind of saw my Facebook posting or my YouTube community page posting, if this guy does have alternate variations, was it in relation to that part, or was it in relation to the back of his figure? The 93 Hasbro Toy Fair catalog Virgil prototype did not have the word Virgil written on the trunks. This was added for the retail version. You see, that's all that shows. But it doesn't specify anything about the back here having some kind of alternate stamp or anything. So I'm not sure. But Virgil, this is a very weird figure, right? So when you like raise his arms up, right? His arms are like pushed so in, like his arms aren't spread out, right? His arms are so in, so close together, and it's so awkward looking. But as awkward as a figure as he is still one of my most favorite, most enjoyable go-to figures. Like, I enjoy the hell out of Virgil. And if I've talked about potentially wanting to create some wrestling matches for the kids or whatnot. I don't know if I'm going to do it on this particular channel, or if I'm going to create like a secondary channel and kind of create matches just for, like, you know, like I said, if I do that for the kids or something, I can't, it's not something that can get monetized or not. So I might just do something for the young kids, and create like a fun secondary channel where I could create, you know, wrestling matches for small kids to watch. And you know what, the parents want to watch to get a kick out of it, go for it. But I don't know who really wants to watch me goof off. I don't know if I'll do it, but I might be stupid and goof off one day. Who knows? But like I said, you know, Virgil, that man will definitely be Intercontinental Heavyweight Champ, because that is an awesome piece. And freaking Warlord. This man, when I look at this figure, he always reminds me of my Chief Warrant Officer 4. During our second deployment, our CW4 was like our DFAC, warrant officer, and he had the same freaking body build. And when you saw that man walk, like he had like, it looked like like somebody was like punching him in the back. Like they took their fist and punched him in his lower back. It was pushing in his lower back. So his lower back was pushed in like so, right? When you look at the figure, his lower back is all pushed in. And his upper back was pushed back, but his chest was all pushed out. And, you know, his shoulders were all up. Upper chest was out, was poking out. And I'm like, why? I mean, a big buff guy, you know, there's no doubt. Even in uniform, you could tell that man freaking was like, you know, was heavy into lifting. So when I look at this figure, it reminds me of that CW4. And I'm like, maybe it's something with bodybuilder types or something. I don't know. But that's insane. Freaking Warlord. That's crazy. Oh, there are a couple of really awesome LJN style. I think they're made out of resin, and that's the only downside. But they have some LJN figures right now with this particular look. And I think they even come with the Warlord staff. And I believe they're removable, so. But that's what I really want. I really want this particular look for an LJN. Let's see. His famous quote, "When you meet the Warlord, you meet your maker." Known for breaking the bench press record on primetime wrestling. Cool, cool. The Warlord had left the WWF by the time of the release of this figure. The Warlord's legs were used for the Owen Hart prototype in 1993 Hasbro Toy Fair catalog. Really? That's the same legs? No, it's not. I mean, it's one thing they kind of switched out the... But I mean, these legs are the freaking, like, Big Boss Man and all those other guys with the right extended arms. So I don't know what the heck they're talking about. But maybe it was for, like, the original design or something. And like, it does say prototype after all, so... But that is Series 5. And now we move on to Series 6. Now here's the thing with Series 5, just now that we've looked at all the figures. When it comes to Hasbro, I still say that Series 1 is probably my least favorite release of Hasbro. I say Series 2 is probably my second least favorite. I would argue that Series 5 is probably the third worst series. From there... I don't know. What did I say? I maybe Series 6? Series 6 is probably the fourth worst series, in my opinion. If I had to guess. Yeah, I think Series 6 is probably the fourth worst series. And, I mean, they're not bad figures at all. But, I mean, they're just a lot of really great series. A lot of great figures. And in this series, you have the Berserker, which... is one of the best figures in the line with one of the absolute perfect accessories. Okay, so Berserker has an awesome look, right? Take it from a Jim Duggan. Great head mold, perfect accessory, one of the top 2, top 3 best accessories. You got Papa Shango, which is amazing. So I mean, you got like 2 really good figures. You got about another 2 that are really good, and you got 2 bad ones. So yeah, you can see that Series 6 is you can see that Series 6 being the fourth worst series, and the fact that they only have 6 figures, it really helps make it a little bit easier to nominate them for the fourth worst. All right, favorite quote, "Huss Huss," we know that. All right, his cloak accessory. So we know that all they did with this figure was use a Hacksaw Jim Duggan figure and didn't even switch out the arm, right? So you still got the Hacksaw Jim Duggan with thumbs up, which is so annoying. But with the new head mold, the Berserker helmet and everything, I mean, perfect. And if they got rid of the thumbs up and you didn't really pay attention to the thumbs up, even keeping the arms and everything, this is a, like I said, this is a perfect figure. Adding on the accessory is fantastic. Now, obviously, removing the accessory, he's just a bare-chested figure with, you know, what was it, black boots, the black chunks, or is it brown chunks? I'm trying to go off memory now. No, it's black trunks and brown knee pads. So basically, like I said, it's just like a Jim Duggan, but the difference between this figure and the Series 2 Hacksaw, you know, throw up the accessory on Hacksaw, he's still blue trunks, black knee pads with the Hacksaw in his with a 2x4 in his hand. This is like added clothing. So this would be, you know, probably top 15 best figure, right? So that this is actual wearable clothing. So this is aesthetics. Now the accessory itself, I actually won an auction very recently, and I think there might be a small damage, but I probably got one recently for like a little over $20 for Berserker with accessory, and which is insane because I think, you know, Berserker with the original accessory should be somewhere in like the $60 to $75 range. So that's what I'm talking about. You got to buy from the right seller. If the seller doesn't have the most followers in the world, you can get a great price on these figures. But this right here, complete, even loose, if the figure's in good condition and comes with the original accessory, this is a $60+ figure. So alright, Berserker controller showed that he was initially planned to have the body of the Texas, oh god. If they put him in Texas Tornado, Jesus. The 93 Hasbro Toy Fair catalog prototype showed Berserker without a cloak, but with a 2x4 accessory. Jesus, what were they thinking? Why do they want to screw up the Berserker so bad? I mean, they released him with Hacksaw Jim Duggan's thumbs up. The original thought process was with a 2x4 plus Texas Tornadoes. My god. Berserker gets absolutely no love. But the Berserker from Series 6 is most definitely the highlight piece of this series. Probably the number 3 best figure in this series is Tito Santana. Now, I'm not a fan of Tito Santana, but he does have a relatively good figure. And I like the little socks over the boots look. And what you will notice is the design, the graphical design on the side of his pants. Now, you're not going to get that design or look from these photographs, but that's actually not bad. I really like that a lot. So it actually looks pretty good. And, you know, just another arm punching figure, of course. Looks like he's in white trunks here. Looks like still taken from his, like, Strike Force days, maybe. I think that's, white trunks, possibly. Anyways, the body of El Matador is a repaint of the Series 1 Jake Roberts figure. Of course, they all are. Though the figure is of the El Matador character, the picture featured on the card of the Tito Santana character. Huh? Though the figure is of the El Matador character, the picture featured on the card are that of the Tito Santana character. Stupid. El Matador is Tito Santana, so that's okay. Whatever. El Matador's hometown is spelled wrong. It should be Toluca. Toluca. Tacula. Cool. Cool. Nice. So, if El Matador is the third best figure, that means Papa Shango is the second best figure. Alright, so, known for being a voodoo doctor. And like I said, Charles Wright, this is like, to me, I absolutely love this gimmick. And I think at one point they were probably in the late 90s, early 2000s or something, they were actually contemplating bringing back Papa Shango or something. And that didn't happen, but I don't want to know why not, because I think Papa Shango was one of the best characters. And Papa Shango and Kamala together, I think was a freaking awesome matchup. And I think stuff like that, like, I mean, there are certain characters I think that go so well together. Like Papa Shango and Undertaker, Papa Shango, Kamala, Undertaker, etc. I think those just work together. Even though the matches probably weren't the most interesting. Even I know Undertaker himself has said that he didn't enjoy the matches because, you know, he wasn't the best fighter. But the Giant Gonzalez and Undertaker, because of his size, I think that was still, you know, a fun competition. So there are just certain competitors that I just think work well, at least in theory. So beware, Papa Shango determines your fate. And I like that all of these accessories are rubbery. And I actually had to go through my accessories and find out that, yeah, because I have so many accessories that are like hard plastic, and then I'm going through these things and I'm feeling the shears, and I'm feeling the necklace, and I'm feeling the guitar, and I'm realizing that all of these accessories are like rubber. And I'm like, you know what? Now these are all rubber accessories. So now I know when something is freaking not original or not. Because I've had plenty of Papa Shango necklaces, and they're all like stiff. Like, I'm like, how do I know if something's original or not? Because sometimes they're like this color. It's like brownish. But then I get something like this, where it's more white in color. Like, how do I know which one is original? Because when I look at the MOC figure, it's really hard to tell. Because when I look at the MOC, it's more brown in color, but like I said, when you look at this, it looks brown, but when you look at it here, it looks white. So, but no, when I felt the one piece, it was actually rubbery, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna start keeping the rubber pieces, and sell like the hard, stiff ones. Because, you know what? Even customs, people will still use that for their collection. No big deal. Papa Shango's body was going to be reused for the canceled Series 12 Diesel figure. I don't know if I would have appreciated Diesel on a punching figure. I think that when Mattel Retros, when they released Diesel in Series 10 of the Mattel Retro line, I think they made the right choice with the fighting pose that they gave him. So they gave him probably one of the best bodies, one of the best figures possible. So all right, so Repo Man. I think Repo Man is an awesome figure. I don't know, man. The damn legs. I just wish they didn't give him a jumper. Otherwise, this is a spectacular figure. Sometimes you have very weak arms, even though the figure itself always looks very minty, which is a shame. because like I said, this is a very popular and very, I would say valuable figure for the most part. So what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine too. So it went from, what was it, Barry Dorsal, went from Demolition to Repo Man. Freaking awesome look. You got to make sure that when you buy this figure that he has, his tattoo fully, fully observant, so it's not faded or anything. As long as the color is good, strong arms. I mean, this could be a, $20, $25 figure. But it could go as high as $30, depending. Papa Shango, he's a good $15 to $25 figure, especially if he's mint, good colored, especially on the back of his, sometimes he's got like, black, there might be like paint loss on the back of his shoulder blades or something. If he's got original accessory, could go as high as $50, $60. Even a custom could bring it up to $40, $50. Let's see. Though similar to the body mold of Series 3 Coco Beware, the Repo Man is a new mold as indicated by the subtle changes around the lower belly. This is a new mold. What they do, add this little part right here. So, Repo Man is a new mold. I mean, he's still a jumper, so I still put him in the list with all the other jumpers when I created my bundle, but like I say, he still has a little hitch on his back and everything. His head still pops up. Still looks original like the rest of them to me. And what could possibly be one of the most hated figures in the entire Hasbro line? Because Ric Flair is like such a, hated figure amongst, so many people's beliefs. When I was doing my countdown of, top 10 least favorite Hasbros, I really tried my best to keep Ric Flair off my list of top 10 least favorite Hasbros. But they're Hasbros. It is such a coveted line with so many amazing pieces. And when I was doing my countdown, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't find 10 figures and find anyone that's necessarily worse than Ric Flair. So yes, like Rick Rude was my number one worst figure. Was I going to put 1, 2, 3 Kid in the top 10? Same exact pose? No. Same pose, but at least, for at least for 1, 2, 3 Kid, his thinness actually merited that particular body pose because, Sean Waltman's a skinny guy, Play pose sucked, but I loved his singlet and the color scheme. So 1, 2, 3 Kid was not on my top 10 list. Rick Rude, my number one least favorite figure. I think Ric Flair came in at like number, 6 or 7 least favorite Hasbro. Trunks were fine. Boots, meh. Head just absolutely sucks. Head sucks. Thinness of the body. Play pose, horrendous. In fact, this figure is so skinny, I ended up putting my women's championship belt on him because he's like only one of a few figures that could actually hold, was only skinny enough to fit that little Velcro belt around. But, Ric Flair, he's also one of the most valuable figures in the Hasbro line. One of the most hated figures, still one of the most valuable. With a bad figure with a lot of markings on the bottom of his boots, maybe some paint loss in the hair, maybe around the boot, around the trunks, markings on his legs or chest. A low end, maybe a $20 figure. Higher end, maybe around $40. So, still a nice pickup to have, regardless. Let's see. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. Known for being a 2-time WWF title holder. And I'm sure that number has gone up significantly since. Ric Flair's uncharacteristic facial expression was seen on his bio information for the Super Nintendo Royal Rumble video game. The body of Ric Flair is a repaint of the Series 1 Rick Rude. And of course, one of my least favorites, Tatanka. At least his figure is one of my least favorites. Him and Texas Tornado, I don't like the dual arm extensions. So funky. I liked Tatanka a lot as a kid. So I thought he was an excellent wrestler. So as a character, he was fine. Didn't mind him at all. There's actually a all-white repaint that I think was a real nice touch. You know, especially when they kind of like painted his legs, gave him like white pants. I would actually like to pick that up, but I think they were asking like $50 on that repaint. I'm like, no, that's okay. I will pass. Let's see. I will challenge. I will fight. I will overcome. From Pembroke, North Carolina. Tatanka's body is a repaint of the Series 3 Texas Tornado. A controller showed that Tatanka was initially designed to have the Series 3 Coco Beware jumping action body. The name was also misspelled, Tatanka, spelled Tatonka instead of Anka. Yeah, I'm glad they went with this instead of the jumper. However, if they did decide to give him the jumper in this series and then re-released this figure in Series 9 on Purple Card or vice versa, that would have been fine. Because having this figure in Series 6 and then re-release this exact same figure on Purple Card in Series 9, that was stupid. That was extremely wasteful. So, let's see. The 1993 Hasbro Toy Fair catalog prototype had a blue tribal tattoo on the right thigh. This is also seen on the real action instructions and advertising. This was possibly due to the wrestler's change from white tights with tribal markings to blue trunks. The Paint Master head had blue eyes and red and white face paint. Yep. Yeah, so this, again, this was the Series 6 card, and as we see, the Series 9 purple card, very wasteful. And I think the only reason, like I've talked about before during my Hasbro reviews, they only did that because, obviously, he was a so-called turncoat, joined the $1 Million Corporation when he betrayed teammate Lex Luger. And because Series 5 only had, or excuse me, Series 9 only had 5 figures, and they had been coming out with 6 figures for like 3 straight series, they needed another figure, I guess, to fill out Series 6. Or, man, I keep screwing that up. They needed another figure to fill out Series 9. So they had $1 Million Man with his third release in Series 9. So let's add another member of the $1 Million Corporation, i.e. Tatanka was the member to fill that out. So, but I just thought that was so dumb. Alright, at 54 minutes, next week we're going to look at Series 7 and Series 8. Both series had 6 figures apiece. So, I don't know, probably another 50-minute video, guys. And, yeah. So 7 and 8 next week. 9 and 10 the following week. And then Series 11 will close out that part. Let's see here. Series 11 in a couple of weeks. Trying to see what's going to follow up Series 11. Looks like we're going to look at some mailaways, some mini wrestlers, the rings. Looks like some advertisements. Yeah, so we might be done with this book in about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. So what I say, 7 and 8. So 3 weeks. 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then 11 and the rest of the book. So 3 weeks. We'll be done in 3 weeks. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the comments, and see everybody in the next video. Take care, everybody.